Hey folks, Sean here, and this is my third installment of my series related to how to create content for your B2B SaaS, which is going to enable you to float up the search rankings and drive more traffic to your website and landing pages. Now, when I mentioned this is the third installment, this week I've done 2 other episodes. First was on keyword research and how to do that well. The second is on actually creating the content, and when I say content in this context, I mean copywriting. In this episode is going to be the third installment, which is going to cover how to measure performance and then optimize from there, which are 2 really critical steps here. Because remember, we want to start with the end in mind. And the end in mind here is how do we get the right type of traffic to your website and landing pages, which is going to mean more conversions and the conversions that we're looking for, which is signups for your free trial and then ultimately conversions to paid customers. So, because we're talking about performance and optimization, let's start with performance. How do we measure it? Well, we know what we're trying to achieve, and we know what we're doing. We're producing content, and that should enable us to climb the search ranking. So how do we track that? There's a couple of tools that I'll recommend. One's free, one's paid. Both provide value. Really depends on the features that you're looking for. The first is Google's Search Console, and I'll link to all this in the show notes, but Search Console is specifically related to any of the data related to search as it pertains to your domain. You can see where you wind up on the page rankings, what people are searching for to find you, what's turning into impressions, what's turning into clicks, and how that's performing over time. So that'll give you an idea where you're climbing, where you're falling. But you're going to need to do some particular configuration set up in order to, in my opinion, get that into the position where it makes it easier for you to be able to do that. And that's where I feel like the paid tools come into play. And the one that I use is SEMrush. There's another one called Ahrefs. They both, relatively speaking, do something similar. I've been using SEMrush, and that makes a lot of this a bit easier. It kind of incorporates all of what Search Console has. You can even integrate it into SEMrush, and a little bit more than that as well, where you can basically, if you're following along with this process, first step was a keyword research, and you can add whatever keywords you would like SEMrush to track for you before you even start producing content for it. Why that's important, in my opinion, because you have a baseline, right? I know where I'm at. Where am I at there? I start producing the content. What does the quote unquote lift look like? How much have I improved? And SEMrush will do this tracking for you automatically. So you can check it on a regular basis. And as you check it, your domain authority should be going up. You should be climbing those search rankings, and it will keep you posted whether or not you're actually doing that. They even have automatic email reports, which make it kind of nice, where they talk about where you've improved and where you've fallen. So you can go in there and you can address those concerns. So those are the tools that will help you with measuring performance. I encourage you to configure and set up both if you can. Again, Google Search Console is free, so that one's just a little bit of time. And you can also incorporate Search Console into Google Analytics, which is also free, which will give you more data. But if you want more and more convenience, more power, I'd encourage you to sign up for something like an SEMrush or an Ahrefs to do even better tracking here. Now, the second piece, which is all important as well, is an effort to help you further climb those rankings, and that's the optimization component, where you go in, you take a look at how well your article is performing, and maybe at some point it's tapped out or it's not climbing the rankings anymore. So if at that point you're not at the top organic spot, which is 1, which when people are Googling for that keyword or searching for that keyword, that means the top organic results, so beyond the paid results, if there are any, the top organic result position is always the target. And if you haven't hit it, then there's more you can do to climb. Now, again, you can leverage the skyscraper technique to see who's above you and what have they done. That seems to be helping, that you can learn from and incorporate. But there's also other content marketing strategies you can leverage as well too. You can further optimize your images in terms of size, quality, even tagging as well too. Like alt tags are very important. If you incorporate your keywords and alt tags with appropriate descriptions, that will help. Other things you can do, you can define focus keywords for your articles using SEO tools built into your website. Like WordPress, for example, has plugins that you can define those characteristics, descriptions, alt tags, focus keywords. Those things will all help give you a little bit more SEO juice. We already talked about optimizing images, but I honestly think one of the best opportunities that people are really not taking advantage of is video. If you have the ability to create video, highly recommend it. It is doing really well. It's considered by many to largely be the future of search. So the sooner you get started here, in my opinion, the better. And you can incorporate those videos into your articles. So part of my routine is after I create the article, I look for what could be a series of short videos that I could also produce, where I post those to my YouTube channel, which I also have, where it's teaching these lessons related to B2B SaaS growing. And then I link the relevant videos to the relevant articles as such to provide people with more value when they're finding these articles. And I've noticed that that has also helped. So all of these tactics and strategies can be layered in to what you're doing to further optimize, help you climb those rankings more effectively and faster. Now, the last thing I want to say on this topic, and I appreciate you taking this journey with me, is that this takes a minute. You don't expect immediate results. The more aggressive that you tackle this and leverage the strategies that I've recommended, the faster you will make progress. But for certain keywords, especially the more competitive ones, it can take months, if not years, to really climb to where you want to be. So that means you really need to build this in a sustainable way, right? Design a process that works for you. And the way that I always say it is something that you can turn on that you never intend to turn off. Incorporate it into your routine. Make it sustainable, right? One of the ways I do it is because I'm producing content for you and I want to always be better about how do I help people, how do I teach people to be successful when it comes to B2B SaaS, is I look for keywords that, again, decent search volume, relatively low on the keyword difficulty, so the competition is lower, presents a potential opportunity for me to climb, but it's also a topic I want to learn more about myself, right? I may have known everything about B2B SaaS business models a couple years ago, right? Amazing how time flies, but I want to know what the latest is. So I proceed to do the research. And I'm intending to learn as part of that process. So consider producing some of this content very similarly overlapping with UX research. So for your users, what they're looking to know, what perspective are they coming from? What are they finding? What mindset are they at the moment? You can learn a lot of this by performing the research yourself and then producing the content to share a lot of that back with them. So long story short here, consider this a process where you can essentially be looking at indirectly getting paid to learn. If you incorporate it like that, and then that can be a much more motivating element here to like stay on the straight and narrow and to just to keep at it. But if you set up these performance tools, you should be able to measure progress over time. That should be a powerful motivator as well. Also, eventually what you'll have is you'll have great root keywords completely surrounded. You'll be climbing the search rankings for the search intent that you're looking for, meaning that you'll be getting more visitors in an organic way to your website and your landing pages, which should lead to more of those conversions that matter.